Juice, AI Worth the Squeeze, and Skybox Sports Network. Get your dream sports sticker at Skybox Sports Network. Welcome in, everybody, to the second episode of Man vs. the Machine. We focus on the intersection of expert-based capping and AI-generated projections in this fast-growing world of sports betting. I'm Steve Shellman, this is Brian Reiner, and we'll be taking you through the NFL slate each week using a combination of AI and expert capper opinion to make winning picks. Brian's a world-renowned poker player, has been capping games well before the beginning of online sports gambling. I've spent the majority of my career using quantitative models to explain, predict, and forecast human behavior. Specifically, my work is focused on political violence, terrorism, coups, riots, assassinations, mass protests, international conflicts, and disputes among countries. My team and I have been building models and data pipelines for the Defense Department for over 15 years. And for you, we just recently repurposed all of our technology that we've built through DoD and DARPA and the Air Force, and we turned it on the sports world to forecast game outcomes and player stats. Those insights are all now packaged in an application we call Prop Juice, and we're really just getting started. We've got so much planned for the future. Today, we're going to discuss the various betting angles from both a human expert and an AI-driven perspective. And hopefully, we're going to make more informed picks regarding spreads, money lines, totals, and our best human machine-generated prop picks. Brian's going to talk about all the issues affecting teams and players and how that impacts lines and angles. And I'm going to show you what all the models are doing with respect to the game outcomes and the player props. Each week, we're going to focus on a few games and a few insights from both the human expert side and the AI side to give our best bets of the week. Each week, Brian, he's going to go do his research on a set of games that we agree on in advance. I'm going to bring the AI with the Prop Juice app, and we're going to talk about all the different angles and risks and potential return on investment that we can get across the slate. We're going to give out some picks each week, and we're simultaneously going to make Prop Juice users smarter on how they can best utilize the app to make better picks. But before we get started on this week's action, Brian, we got to recap last week. What a week we had, baby!
It was pretty incredible. I know the public got killed. I heard some rumors that Vegas casinos, $800 million. But thankfully for us and my private group, we made a nice withdrawal. Actually, a very nice withdrawal. So if this is where we're at in week one, let's just hope it keeps going and it's going to be a great season. Knock on wood. Last week, the Dak under TDs we gave out, Dak under passing yards we gave out. I told you it's Dak being Dak, and you got to trust in him. I missed the AJ Brown over. I think in watching the game, baby.
AI got it right.
AI did get it right. The human was wrong. But in watching it, and especially in my rewatches, his hammy is not healthy. He's not healthy. He looked horrible to be totally honest with you, and not many targets because I don't think he couldn't even get open. The Eagles was a play I liked. We hit it with the AI model at 2.5. Which was kind of cool. The Thursday night game, did we crush it or what? Hampton over yards.
We did, man.
Herbert over yards. Herbert over touchdowns. McConkey over receptions. McConkey over yards, which was my best bet. I gave it out. Gave it to my private clients. I absolutely loved it. Chargers money line was a huge hit for, one of my guys really crushed. Crazy. Chargers spread. Chargers Chiefs over total. We just destroyed that game.
AI predicted the game perfectly. We had one of our models, Quant Edge, predict 27-21. That's how close we were on this game, man. We had the perfect score, we had the spread, we had the money line, we had the totals. It was just incredible. I couldn't believe it. I was so excited, man. At the end of the game, I was like, "Oh my gosh, we got the score, we got the spread." It was nuts, man.
Exactly. It started so good. One of my guys was not a huge. He was not really buying what I was telling him about. The Chargers. He was like, I think KC's, going to be better this year, this and that. And I said, listen, if you listen to the first episode of the podcast, what I say, KC's going to have a down year. And I thought that was exactly what was going to happen. A lot of people are saying, they're off to a slow start, but no, they have some issues there. And, and now with the injuries, I think they're going to be, trying to overcome even bigger obstacles. But the Chargers money line bet, one of my guys hit it so big. He's like, I got something for you. So when he came by, he tossed me a chocolate $5,000 chip as a bonus. So it made my day even a little bit better. So yeah, I mean,
call,
then,
man.
going into Sunday, I think the only thing we missed, or especially I missed, was, I was big on Cincinnati. I mean, Burrows had trouble in the pocket. Offensive line did not do great. I mean, they released Kappa. The Raiders picked him up, and he looked fantastic. So, but when you throw 14 for 23 and 113 yards and 1 TD for Burrows, it's going to be a bad night. So I was really high on Cincinnati. I thought maybe by them playing all their starters so much more in preseason, they'd be a little bit fresher. They'd be a little bit more cohesive as a unit, and a little bit tighter, and they just didn't look good. I mean, to be totally honest with you, Cincinnati should have lost that game. And we're back to just like what happens every
year. They should have lost the game. And they're playing the Browns, man. They're playing the Browns. I mean, come on, it should have been a touchdown game, right? I mean, they're a touchdown
they win by
than
one,
the Browns, right?
Exactly. I mean, they win by one, and Flacco threw 2 picks. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. I mean, if they don't choke it off the end of the game, they lose. So, but overall, I missed one prop. I told you I'm not a real big prop bet player anyway. There's a couple, like 1 or 2 I like to hand out each week. Maybe put a little small 4-team prop together on parlays. I did a couple little single games in which we hit them all. I mean, like, I was just kept going back and looking at my app, and I was like, oh, I got this one. Oh, I got this one. Oh my God, I got this one too. So it was pretty awesome, and the AM models were hit it too.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty crazy. So we by definition, even though we don't necessarily like every pick the AI is making, right? We're putting out picks for every game, right? We're putting out a spread, we're putting out a money line, we're putting out a total. We're picking and choosing based on the metrics we're seeing and what's going on. So, but even then, we went 13-3 on money lines, man.
It's insane.
13-3. Okay, and we called an upset. We just didn't pick favorites, right? We called an upset.
Right.
We picked the Chargers,
And
we had the Dolphins, I mean, we had a lot of money lines. We went 9-7 on spreads. That's not bad for early non-data, new coaches, new players, new coordinators, right? To go 9-7 on the spread the first week with old data, I think is pretty promising myself, So we're really excited about that. I mean, we went 8-0 in the first window, and I was just like, yeah. I mean,
exactly.
When I went on my Pickett app on the next day, I have never ever been in the top 1%. I was on the top 1% on Pickett, so we had a hell of a day. I mean, I think every day, I told you, I think I put on the recap the other day in the recap of the show or of the night that I made a withdrawal after the 4:00 games because I'd made so much money, and I was like, I'll just take this out. And then after the Sunday night game, another $2,000 hit my account because we cashed all these 10-leg and 9-leg and 8-leg parlays that were just nuts.
Yeah, I think the biggest brag you're forgetting is we posted the 10-game parlay on propjuice.ai, and all my buddies were calling me. They're like, you guys get this thing cold. And I'm like, yeah, plus 2708. And we posted it, and we hit the 3-teamer. We hit the other 3-teamer. The only one we lost was because Burrows didn't go over. I mean, that's it.
That's the only one we lost. When you look at our parlays online, I'll just pull them up for you right now. You pull them up right here. This is the parlays that we had. We cashed 4 out of 5 of these, including this big one right here, this 10-legger. So, I mean, that's just really impressive. We're really excited about this. Just a reminder that Prop Juice sponsors From the Cave, Man vs. Machine, AI worth the squeeze. Prop Juice's full suite AI sports picks app, delivering data-driven game picks and props right to your mobile phone and your favorite web browser. Prop Juice can sync your bets across multiple sportsbooks, recommend the top dog of the day, break down multiple models of each week's game action all season long. Sign up at propjuice.ai, get a free 7-day trial right now, lock in beta test pricing. You get insider access to an all-new AI data-driven app that just ripped the sportsbooks off, baby. Sign up at propjuice.ai. AI worth the squeeze. So, Brian, what do you say we jump into this juicy NFC matchup on Thursday night? We got the Commanders and the Packers. I think it's going to be another good one. The line's 3.5 at most books. It's going to be a great matchup, I think, between Love and Daniels, who both played well last week. Love didn't have the passing yards that I think we might have expected, but he had 2 touchdown passes. Jaden had the 1 touchdown pass. He went over his rushing prop, which we should have mentioned in our recap because that was one of our big, rushing props that we had. He went over 43.5. I expect him to do the same again this week against the Packers. The Packers, on the other hand, they blew out Detroit, right? Poor Detroit. They didn't look very good. I don't know. We might have to have a conversation about Detroit and the lack of offensive line.
We're going to talk about
it. Being gone, and coordinator, all that kind of stuff. But, they were really missing their all-pro 4-time Pro Bowl center, Frank Ragnow, right? I mean, he retired last year, and I think it's going to be a tough one for that O-line. But the Packers took care of business. They can't help who they played. They rocked and rolled, and, I'm expecting a good one. What do you think, Brian?
Most of the consensus is all over Green Bay here. Everyone watched the game against the Lions, but let's just talk about the Lions, being as you brought them up real quick, Steve. We warned in episode 1, and it was one of the reasons I told all my private clients, stay away from this game. I'm telling you, when you lose both coordinators, Ben Johnson and Glenn, at the same time, and you bring in a guy, I know the guy was there as part of the team, but when you're not calling the plays, you're not making the decisions, there's a huge opportunity to have a huge letdown. But they looked horrible. They could not run the ball. And I think maybe, and this is just, where I'm going with this game. I like Washington. And I know the consensus, everyone is all over Green Bay. The steam is heavy on Green Bay. But I just don't think Green Bay, although their defense looked phenomenal, even with Micah Johnson on a snap count, they looked really good defensively. They stopped the run. Yeah, I'm sorry, Micah Parsons. But I think that they played a team that is not going to have a good year. I mean, and being a Michigan guy, trust me, this hurts. We finally started to see that, kind of rise in the franchise and starting to do some great things and going deep in the playoffs, which we're just not used to in Michigan at all. But I'm going to tell you something. I predicted this before the season, and everyone told me I was absolutely crazy. I don't think the Lions make the playoffs. I think I think we're really going to see what kind of a team they really are in the next couple of weeks. But I think Green Bay might have beat a Lions team that is not the Lions team everyone expected.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the AI, we're favoring actually the Commanders as well, and to cover the 3.5. I mean, that's a pretty big number between these two teams, right? A field goal game, and you get the extra half point on that. That's so. I mean, So in terms of our spreads, we're seeing the Commanders cover this game. Now we're seeing a 0.64 points, over 0.6 probability that the Packers win this game. But I mean, at 40% chance, right? And given what we've seen with some of the models over the weekend, I'd sprinkle in some money line as well on the Commanders if I was looking at these from an AI perspective, because you get a 40% chance to win. That's a pretty big chance to win, in terms of a close game like this, a 3-point game. So we've got a Commanders covering the spread, and we're probably going to sprinkle in some money line over here at Prop G's.
Yeah, I actually have a parlay continuing from last week with Buffalo and the over 2 plus 165 on Washington. I've been high on Washington. I think in the first podcast, everyone kind of got the feeling that I really love the team this year. Dan Quinn.
I don't. I'm just wearing their jersey.
I love it. Hey, those jerseys work good for you this week. Everyone you put on, we won. Even a couple miracle games.
Man, every one of them.
But I'm really high in Washington. I like Washington today. I pressed it. I squeezed the line all the way up to 7.5 on a couple, from literally money line all the way up to 7.5 on some parlays. I also I like Daniels. I mean, the way Green Bay stopped the run is the only reason you're getting a number on Daniels rushing this week like you're getting. And Micah's a great pass rusher, but if Daniels gets outside the pocket, he can take off. And we saw like how many times he just spurted away for 10, 12, 13 yards. So, I've been all over Washington this game. I hit it. I'm getting a better number now, waiting a little bit, but I have some money line. I have some spread. And I like,
he had 68 yards. He had 68 rushing yards last week, Brian.
He did.
Daniels, 68 rushing yards.
Yeah. We gave that out too. I mean, that was my second best after McConkey was Jaden Daniels rushing, so felt pretty good about it.
We're given a 66% chance of Jaden going over his mark. So of 44 and a half, 66% chance. You can dial that back to 40 if you wanted to on a parlay just to make sure, because I'm pretty sure he's going over 40. If you look at the trends in our app, he's gone over 40 like almost all the time. Let's see where he's at here. I'm going to put it up for you guys. Over 40 gives him a 72% chance. And if you look at the actuals, he's gone under this line 3 times in the last 10 games. And that was the last time he went on this line was back in January 5th against Dallas. He only had 27 yards. And that's the lowest number in the last 10 games that he's posted. All the other ones are, right there at 74 and 66 and 81. He had 127 one game. He's just a madman on the ground. So I got faith in him to come through.
And I think he's going to pass the ball. I think that, depending on how the game goes earlier, I mean, the weather's supposed to be cool. It looks like kind of, a kind of defensive, matchup, for the most part. I mean, a lot of people are pushing this over and I don't like it. I mean, I think it's under. The other one prop I'll bring up that I like is Terry McLaurin over 55.5 yards, because I think they're going to have to pass the ball to win this game. And, Jaden, I think, is going to get a couple of runs. That's why I like him on the rushing prop. But I think they're going to have to pass this ball to beat Green Bay. I mean, that Green Bay defensive line is stout, as we all know. I mean, they looked phenomenal. Even if the Lions were as weak as I think they are, they still looked phenomenal. So, I think he's going to have to put the ball in the air a little bit. I mean, what's the AI model say about McLaurin?
First of all,
around 55, 60.
Yeah, first of all, his passing yards, Jaden Daniels' passing yards, it's right at that 52% to go over his line, which is like in the low 200s. 225, I think, is his line right now. We're only about a 52% to go over that. But that, given your commentary there, I could see us, putting that in. I got McLaurin going under 4.5 receptions. Let me see what his yardage is. Let's see. Here we go. Terry McLaurin reception yards is 56.5. Line.
I got 55.5 early, so it's somewhere in there between 55 and 60. But I think he goes over there.
Okay, AI has an under, but it's a coin flip. It's a 52%. He goes under, and it's based on that last game. He didn't do anything in the last game, right? So the AI is picking up the trends, right? And so he had 2 catches last game for 30 something yards.
I think so.
I think that's what's going on. He just wasn't a factor in that last game, and so the AI is kind of weighting him lower. I think is what's going on there.
I think he only had
it's a coin flip because he does go over that line often, right? So if you look at his trends, he's actually been over that line quite a bit the last 3 or 4 games. He came back down, so he's due for a big game, right? He's due for a big game.
Yeah, and he only had 4 targets, though, last time. I mean, the Giants' secondary played pretty good. Their defensive line was terrible, and so I think, Quinn just said, let's just pound this ball at them. Let's just keep running it. There's holes in there, and we could take advantage of it. And that's kind of what they did. And then, they got up, so there was really no reason to extend the game, and kind of kept it going and kept the clock moving. And, I think that's probably had a lot to do with McLaurin's low numbers last week. So, anyway, it's kind of interesting that AI. Yeah, I was kind of looking at a couple of numbers. I know when we talked earlier, and I was like, I think he's going to have a big standout game.
What about Krosky Merritt, man? He looked good. I mean, I thought, between him and Eckler didn't get a lot of the carries. Eckler got 6 carries. Krosky Merritt got 10. Ja'Cory had 82 yards, and Austin only had 26. So
it's going to be running back by committee there. I mean, Eckler, I wasn't sure how healthy he was. San Diego, Harbaugh's a pretty good judge of talent of where they're at today, and he's been beat up for a couple of years, and I think him, I think him with as few carries as he got, I'm not sure that he's the Eckler that we saw before.
Yeah. So, okay, let's go ahead and look at the money lines then for the Commanders. This segment we do every week, or we're going to start doing it. This is our inaugural segment in week 2. We're going to do this segment every week where we look at the Skybox Sports Network. Remember, Skybox Sports Network is a premier site where you can get your dream ticker and your odds boards. One of the products that they sell are live odds boards put in your man cave or your sports bar or wherever in your house. So you can see the odds all the time, anywhere. You get live player props, you get game odds, you get money line spreads, etc., across all the different leagues. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to go look at the money lines and try to find the best price on the Commanders game. So Brian, let's go over to Skybox Sports Network and see if we can't find the best price on the bet that we just chose. So if you're thinking about a money line, and we know that money line's a little risky, the AI has about a 40-something% chance that the Commanders could win this game. Our human expert is backing them, but hedging a little bit. I think he prefers the spread, but he's going to bet some money line. I'm going to bet some money line. And so given that we're going to bet this money line, we want to find the best price. So why don't you walk us through the different casinos and where we can find that price, Brian?
Yeah, I was just refreshing, taking another look. It's the one thing that's so awesome about Skybox because, you want the best dollar. You want the best number that you could get. And it looks like Caesars is the best still at 158. Most of the other, Sugar House, DraftKings, Fanatics, FanDuel, MGM are all around the 152, 155 line. So 158 looks like the big number for us, and which is great. Those are my boys over at Caesars, so they let me get down, and that's where we're gonna head on the money line. It looks like 3.5 is kind of locked in now across the board too. I just was looking at the odds as well as see if there was any changes or any movement. I know there was a couple of injuries that were just kind of came out with both the wide receivers for Green Bay, and those guys, together I think were like 5 catches for 75 yards, between Reed and Wicks, and both they're questionable. It sounds like that they're going to play, but hey, injuries could have a big effect in this game, especially if Washington's defensive line plays like they did last week. I mean, they were beastly.
Absolutely. They were really good. Now, we don't see any difference on the spreads, unfortunately, right? Except for FanDuel. Yeah. FanDuel maybe has a little bit of break on the spread. They got a minus 112 on the 3.5. Everywhere else, I'm seeing 115 with the exception of Sugar House at 114. So, again, if you want to bet this, you can bet the money line at Caesars or you can bet the spread at FanDuel. Those are going to give you your 2 best prices. So right now, we're going to toss to a little bit of a break here for a little bit of an ad for Skybox Sports Network. We'll be right back. Hey guys, I'm Steve Shellman, the founder of Prop Juice. Head on over and get your live odds boards over at Skybox Sports Network. You can get 10% off your live odds boards or your sports tickers over at Skybox Sports Network. Available on Amazon and on their website. You can check out all the latest odds. Right here, we got player props. Washington Commanders. Live right now, Jaden Daniels, over 228 passing yards, minus 115. You think he's going to go over? What about Jordan Love? He's over 234, minus 115. You think he's going to go over? Check out your odds all day long. We got receiving props. We got wide receiver, longest rush for running backs, and wide receiver props, long receptions, receiving yards. We got all the odds from NCAA football, the NFL, MLB, WNBA, NHL. It's all available right here on your live odds board. Get your live odds board from Skybox Sports Network. Get 10% off with code PROPJUICE at checkout. Get your best bet at Prop Juice? Go check out the best price from Skybox Sports Network. Get your odds board at Skybox Sports Network. Reminder that From the Cave, Man vs. the Machine is sponsored by Prop Juice, squeezing profits out of every wager. It's AI worth the squeeze. Boy, was it worth the squeeze this week. $1,900 for $7,000, baby. All right, so we got this Buffalo Jets game coming up. Brian, we haven't really talked about Josh Allen. Let's just talk about Josh Allen. What a show he put on Sunday night in that fourth quarter. He put on his cape and Superman to that victory for the Bills, didn't he? They have a letdown against the Jets this week? It's a division game. They're always tighter than we think they could be, right? Do the Bills cover this one?
I think the Bills cover. I noticed that the line moved to 7 this morning, which I expected it to. Wow. I was shocked we got 6.5. We leaned on this game pretty heavy at 6.5. I like it. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a letdown. I think you're looking at the team that could potentially win the Super Bowl. I mean, Josh was just First of all, the game, I don't think anyone needs to put Baltimore down. I think it was one of those games. We're going to see it again. I think this is probably the AFC Championship game, but Josh Allen just has that will to win. I think, he's got some components this year. Cook looked good. They kind of moved, the scheme changed a little bit. They're moving him kind of in and out. They were trying to get the ball in his hands a little bit more, just running, throwing a couple little out passes to him and, a couple of little screen passes to him and then getting him blocked. But I don't think it's a letdown. And, the Jets just look like a different team. I mean, looking at him with Fields, instead of Rodgers, I just kind of wow, where are the defenses for both these teams? They're both kind of known for their defenses. They're throwing 40 numbers on each other. But absolutely. I just think
it was crazy. I had the over in that game though.
I know. Yeah, you did. Yeah. So I like Buffalo. I like Buffalo a lot here. They were another one of my top plays. I think they're going to, go in. I mean, I think the only reason you get 6.5 or you were getting 6.5 was because it's at the Jets, and it is a rivalry game, but I just think Buffalo, talent to talent, position to position, they're just so much better than the Jets this year. And, Fields also could throw in a dud. He looked pretty good last week. And, can he do that? Yeah. Can he do that consistently? I don't know. But yeah, I like Buffalo. I like Buffalo heavy.
Yeah, I'm going to go against that. I like Buffalo to win the game. I think they're going to be a solid win, but I think the Jets are just a different team this year. I could be completely wrong about that. But when I watched that game, they played really good against that Steelers defense. I mean, Fields was 16 to 22. That's pretty efficient, right? I mean, had 6 misses, 218 yards, only 1 sack. I mean, that's pretty good. And a touchdown. Breece Hall, 19 carries. They leaned on Breece Hall, right?
Heavy.
And so you got to, right, in that offense with Fields, right? You got that option game going, that run pass option, RPO game that they play. And then you've got to lean on Breece Hall. He's such a great, just durable back. And, he got 107 yards. He got his 107. I mean, it took him 20 carries to get there. He had an 18-yard long run, though. So he broke one off. And then Fields had a 15-yard long run, and he had 2 running touchdowns, man. So Fields put on a show in this game, man. So I'm nervous. The Bills' defense didn't look that great, to be honest with you, man. I just didn't think they looked that great, especially in that first half. I mean, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens' offense is legit, don't get me wrong, but they put a show on against the Bills. The Bills couldn't stop them. And, yeah, so I'm leaning Jets. The AI's leaning Jets. I'm leaning for the cover. I'm going to take the cover.
Yeah, when you gotta take into consideration Lamar's running ability, it's not an easy. The Ravens' offense is hard. I mean, they got an incredible back, but you got to also, you got to treat Lamar like he can run the ball on literally any play. I mean, the one thing I saw with the Jets was, Breece Hall had, I think, 19 carries. Fields had like 12 carries, and I think the rest of the team had like 6 or 7. And so, are you going to lean on Breece Hall like that
Braylon Allen had 6 carries for only 9 yards.
Yeah. So are you going to lean on him, through a whole game and have no other option? I don't know. Fields runs the ball, 12 times. They might break him in half. So, I don't know.
This passing game looked different from Fields, man. Garrett Wilson had 7 receptions for 95 yards. When do you have that with Rodgers? Only towards the end when they finally got on the same page. Early on, he wasn't getting 7 receptions for 95 yards in the first 4 games that Aaron Rodgers played. But Fields did it. Fields did it game 1, baby. So I don't know. I mean, I know it could be a one-off. It could be a fluke. It could be a Fields, fluke or whatever we want to call it. He played a great game. He had 48 yards on the ground, 218 yards passing. When you add those up, that's almost, 260 yards total offense, man, for Justin Fields and 3 touchdowns. So you don't think that that's comparable to Lamar Jackson? And you don't think the Buffalo Bills are going to have problems with Justin Fields after they had problems with Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, I actually watched this film a couple of times because I was shocked at the amount of throwing the ball that they did. And so I was like, God, is the secondary for Pittsburgh just this bad? Oh my God, there were some gaps. There were some wide open receivers. There were some blown coverages. I mean, they looked horrible, which is shocking. Pittsburgh's usually known for having, really outrageous and killer corners and safeties and stuff. And there was just blown coverages everywhere. So is it so much the Jets? I'm leaning on no. In my opinion, I think Pittsburgh's secondary was terrible. And I think Buffalo and I think Josh Allen's going to eat them up. Yeah, I do. This is one of those ones I like, right? Because we did our research. I did mine. AI did his. We get together and we are like, on the opposite ends of the spectrum on the game. This is my second best play this week is Buffalo. And, I think they cover, and I even squeezed the line all the way up to 10.
Wow. Okay. You got a lot of faith in Buffalo this week. Okay, Brian, let's dig into another game, shall we? How about the Cowboys Giants game? 2 losers last week. What do you think it takes for either of these two teams to get a win? I mean, we had Dak, who didn't play great. Russell Wilson, he looked like a deer in headlights. I said he wasn't going to save Daboll's job. I mean, when do you think they're going to start Dart? I mean, was it a mistake to start Russell? And they said he's going to start again this week. When do you think Dart goes? I mean, do you think he comes out 2-3 weeks from now? I mean, how long is Daboll going to hang on to Wilson? Can Wilson get a win against the Cowboys?
Yeah. I mean, there were some rumors already that Daboll went to management and said, hey, is it time to put him in there? And they kind of, threw a little bit of cold water on his idea. I mean, you got to remember, Daboll's in a desperate spot. We talked about this on last week's pod. I think he's in trouble anyway. I don't think it's going to change. I think the GM's in trouble as well. I think they're both, going to have a short-lived life there with the Giants. As far as this matchup, I like Dallas. I started hitting it earlier. It jumped back a little bit, 5.5 from 6 back up to 6, and 6.5. It's kind of been toying back around, but I like Dallas here. I mean, I thought the Giants were the Giants. I mean, they didn't show me anything. Russell Wilson didn't show me anything. I didn't expect him to show me anything. Dak had a fairly good game. I mean, he was 21 for 34, 35 or something, like just under 200 yards. It's Dak being Dak, and that's kind of always been my moniker for him. CeeDee Lamb, even though he dropped a bunch of passes, I know everyone was crushing him, but he had a monster game. 110 yards. He was targeted a lot. He did. And I think it was just early in the year. But I think I think Dallas just crushes the Giants just based on the Giants are just not a good football team.
Yeah, I agree with that. I got Dallas as well. I got them covering. I got a strong money line prediction. Russell Wilson went 17 to 37 for 168 yards and 2 sacks. I mean, that's just not going to get it done, man. No. In terms of the AI, I got Dallas covering by more than 6. I think that line's changed. Maybe did it go from 6.5 to 6? Maybe. Yeah. Maybe we had some line movement there. But yeah, I've got a heavy favorite on Dallas to cover. I actually have the under on this game as well. So we got an 80% chance to go under 44.5. And our consensus cover is minus 7.88. Yeah, minus 7.88 is our consensus spread. We got a 69% chance probability to cover. And although almost all of our models are under with the exception of that ELO model. So you can either, play with the little probability projector and take it up to 50. I mean, we got a 98% probability this thing goes under 51. So high probabilities of cashing. You might move the line up and take the under on a double with a money line Cowboys or a spread Cowboys in terms of how you make that pick. Get your dream sports ticker at Skybox Sports Network. Displays all your favorite teams' logos, keeps up to date with all the news 24/7, displays real-time odds on their odds boards. Show off your ticker in your man cave or in your local sports bar like I do. Don't miss breaking news or changing odds. Use Prop Juice at checkout for 10% off at Skybox Sports Network, available on Amazon and on their website. Again, use Prop Juice at checkout for 10% off. One of these amazing luxury tickers. 10% off. That's a good chunk of change. Get 10% off Skybox Sports Network with your code PropJuice at checkout. All right, Brian. Both teams coming off big victories. The Chargers beat the Chiefs and the Raiders took down the Patriots up in Foxborough. How do these two teams handle the high life as they go into week 2?
Yeah, I was pretty excited as we talked about in podcast number 1. I love the Raiders money line. We crushed it. It was a big bet. I just noticed, I was looking over at the Skybox Sports ticker, and I noticed that this went to 3 from 3.5 in a lot of the books. So that's a lot of late steam, because I really thought that line was going to move the opposite direction. I actually pushed this line up to 6. I'm real excited for this game. Number one, I'll be there actually up in the Aristocrat Club up in the suite, so I'm going to be enjoying a little time on the field. So I like the Raiders. I think everyone got that from me. I like the Raiders this year. Unfortunately for them, they got 2 brutal games. They got the Chargers and then Washington. It's just going to be like 2 tough weeks. That's a lot of steam coming in. I'm a little bit shocked by that. I really like the Chargers. I took the Chargers money line on a couple parlays, like some bigger dollar amount parlays, just because I didn't like that hook. But I also pushed it and squeezed it on some smaller parlays all the way up to 6. At 3.5, I mean, it's 2 field goals. So, why not just take it to 6 and get a really nice number? But I just really was impressed with this young kid out of North Carolina, Martin Campbell, last week. I thought, my gosh, this guy could really be something for a rookie. Herbert was incredible. McConkey was incredible. That was one of the reasons why we did so well last week was, we were all over the Chargers, against KC, and lucky for us, I think that made a difference between us having an absolutely huge week and a profitable week. So, the Raiders looked good. I'm still very high on the Raiders. I just think the Chargers are a lot better than people anticipated, maybe even a little better than I thought they were going to be, which is kind of, which is laying this line. I mean, that's what's causing this steam.
At the end of the day, Herbert had a Burrow game. I mean, he went 25 for 34 for 318 yards and 3 touchdowns, right? That's what we thought Burrow was going to put up against the Browns, man. So, I mean, Herbert comes out. He looks really good early. I mean, looking between him and Mahomes, he outplayed Mahomes. He had a 300-yard game, 3 touchdowns. He even had 32 yards on the ground. So when he needed to make a play, he made a play. He had a 19-yard long run. Burrow ain't going to do that. So, I just feel like his passing line was so good. And then he gives you that. He's not really that dual threat, but he's mobile and he can get you yards if you get in a bind, right? So, I really he's such a tough kid, right? He's going to hang in there. He's going to play with a broken arm and, cracked rib and everything else, man. The kid's just tough, man. And then the addition of Amari Hampton, I thought that was a pretty good pickup. He had 2 catches for 13 yards. Maybe he'll have a bigger day coming up. Quentin Johnston, though, did we pull that out of the prop juice props, baby, right huge. Before the game started?
It was absolutely huge.
I was like, Quentin Johnston, 2.5 receptions, man. He's going over tonight, baby. And you know what? I think he might score a touchdown. He had 2 touchdowns, man. He had 5 receptions for 80 yards, man. So prop juice totally killed that one right before we started that game. It was just an all-around great week. I think McConkey has a big line. I think Quentin Johnston gets a big line against the Raiders again. What do you think?
Yeah. I thought the Raiders looked good. Bowers is a beast. There's been a lot of rumors this week about his knee. I talked to a couple guys that I know inside, and they said it's bothering him a little bit. He's going to play, but he's definitely going to be a little gimpy. He was over 100 yards, had 5 receptions. Jacoby Myers was almost 100 yards. He had 8 receptions on 10 targets. They looked really good. John T ran the ball a lot. I think he had 19 or 20 carries. I think he had 40 yards, something like that, or around 40 yards. So a little bit less than I thought he'd have. Yeah, he did. But I think they're gonna have to probably throw the ball. Is Geno gonna throw the ball 35 times again? He might have to, because they may get down and be forced into that. Which is, if I'm gonna take a prop in this one, it's probably Jacoby Myers over. I'm gonna stay away from Bowers, even though I would lean over on Bowers as well. That's just because I think the Raiders are gonna have to throw the ball to keep themselves in this game. Yeah. Saw Perryman came up on the injured list. He's kind of the last remaining San Diego Charger guy. Khalil Mack, they seem to be, I thought they were going to struggle a little bit more losing Bosa than they did. I mean, I thought their defense looked, pretty damn good against Kansas City. So I like the Chargers here. I like that it went to 3. I'll do a little bit more at 3 at that number. I think probably all the late steam is going to come in going the other way, but I'm surprised. I'll have to make a few phone calls and kind of see what's happening at the books. If it's some huge bets or, if it's just like the public's coming in there.
Okay, we want to remind everybody right now that From the Cave, Man vs. Machine is sponsored by Prop Juice, squeezing profits out of every wager. It's AI worth the squeeze. We sure squeezed a lot of profits out of our wagers last week. We wagered about $1,900 and we returned $7,000. Sign up at propjuice.ai. Get 10% off your first monthly platinum level subscription when you sign up now with our sponsor's code at checkout, Skybox10. That's right, Skybox10 gets you 10% off your platinum level subscription at propjuice.ai. Okay, Brian, let's dig into some dogs here. Last week we gave out 2 dogs, and guess what? 2 dogs cashed, baby. Let's go 2-0, man. What you got for us this week?
Yeah, I was digging in. I always like to look for a couple of sharp numbers, where the dogs really kind of stood out to me. I mean, last week I loved San Diego and I loved the Raiders, both of them. And, they both cashed, so that's always a good thing. In digging in, it's a little less likely this year. It looks a little bit chalky, but I do like Tampa Bay. The line's of, I think, 2.5 still, kind of him and Han around there with Houston being at home. But Tampa looked really good. Baker was hot. He threw for 3 touchdowns last week, no picks, which is big for him because he tends to farve it a little bit, when he gets under pressure. And, and I'll tell you one thing, I don't know if you've caught this game, but Abuka, the rookie, super, super impressive. What'd you think?
Brian, I catch every game right here in the cave, baby, so you ain't never going to watch that. But
that's true.
Abuka was a madman. So there's a little story that's been posted on Twitter and Facebook about the last play of the game. So he said right before that last touchdown, Mike Evans was talking about it. He said that he called it. He wanted a post route. We were in the huddle. He said to run this certain play, and he'll game the DB, Evans said. He said, I'm going to game him. So I just think that he's got kahunas or whatever you want to call him, man. He's just got it, baby. He's just ready to take it, man. I think he had a big game. He's a beast. I thought he played really well.
Yeah, I think he was the 3rd highest rated receiver. Oh, no, Quentin Johnston was the 3rd highest receiver, which we crushed also. But he was up there in the top 5, for total production. But I thought he looked good. I know, they're still a little banged up with a couple of the other receivers, but that he got 6 targets, caught 4 for 67 yards and 2 tutties. That's pretty impressive for a rookie. First game out, no bugs, no worries about that kid. So anyway, I like Tampa. I like Tampa money line. I bet them. I threw them on some parlays. I'm not sure about Houston yet. But I like Tampa. That's my big dog this week.
We like them too. And we promised, guys.
Wow.
We did not do this beforehand. I said, okay, Brian, we're going to talk about dogs. Who you got this week? And he said, I got Tampa. I said, no way.
That's crazy, right?
Well, I got Tampa too, because I got consensus money line 77% to win this game.
Wow.
77%. And my
big
spread
number.
My spreads are insane. I mean, you want to be safe, just take the +3, but my spreads are -7, -12, -7, -10. I mean, they're pretty big spreads. I mean, I think it has to do with some of the data we saw coming out of the Texans game. I mean, Stroud didn't play that well. I think their offense struggled. I think they had just a lot of just sputtered, man. It just sputtered the whole time. They just really never got into a click. I mean, that was a low-scoring game too. And they just could never get into a rhythm, it seemed like to me. So I don't know. What do you think about Stroud versus that Bucs defense?
Yeah, I think there's some problems inside. I think they're struggling on offense. I think there's a lot of I think it's more frustration. I think they'll figure it out and get a little bit better. But I thought Tampa looked, Tampa, Atlanta, living in Atlanta for 20 years, it's a big rivalry game, and it got dicey down the end. I know I was sweating it when they were down on the one. I was like, oh, please don't blow this for me, because I had a lot going, a lot of big parlays going with them. But I think Tampa's going to improve off that game, believe it or not. And Atlanta's got a good football team. They got a good defensive team, and
they could have won that game.
They easily could have won that game. So I think both those teams are much improved this year in the NFC South. So, but I'm gonna lean Tampa on this, and I'm gonna take Tampa money line. I think they go in there, and I think they beat the Texans in Houston.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna try another dog here, and it's a little bit of a trap game. I think it's that Denver-Indianapolis Colts game. They're in Indy. Everybody's been really high on the Broncos off season, and Bo Nix and the steps he was going to take to become, that next, year 2 quarterback coming off that great year he had last year. He's just going to kind of rise up and keep going. Same thing we talked about with Jaden Daniels. Would there be that sophomore slump, or will he keep going? Everybody thought both those quarterbacks were probably going to, keep taking steps and improvements. And, he didn't look bad, but they just couldn't put him away. You, I believe, had Denver covering that game, and I had the Titans covering that game. I mean, I don't think you officially went on record, but when we talked about it, you were like, yeah, I think Denver can cover that game. I actually had the Titans covering the 8.5, and they covered. It was an 8-point game. So, kudos to Prop Juice. But it was a closer game than I think the experts expected, and I think this one's going to be too. I just think that the Colts at home, the coach, I think, has got the offense, rolling a little bit more now that he's sat Anthony Richardson. I just think that can roll a little bit more. They got that running game going with Jonathan Taylor, and I just think that they can possibly take down the Broncos this week. I certainly have them covering. It's 2.5. If you look at our money lines in terms of their chance to win, I actually give them a 56% chance to win this game. The Colts at home. And I got spreads all the way from like -1 to -6. So they could cover this touchdown. They could cover the game by 2 field goals by my estimation. So what do you think about that game? What do you think about the Indianapolis-Denver game?
So this is what happened this week when I got the first phone call from my biggest client. He bets massive amounts of money. And he said, I love the Colts. And I said, you know what? I think you should stay away from this game. And this is why. he's gonna do what he wants to do anyway. But I know he wants my sound advice. And this is the reason why. Danny Dimes, he looked fantastic. I mean, it just makes Dable look like an even bigger piece of shit.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, he went off 22 for 29, 272 yards and a touchdown, and he looked fantastic.
You know what, Brian? He had protection.
I saw a chart of time in the pocket without, how much time you had to throw the ball. And the Colts were like one of the top teams in the NFL last year about protection, which is big. But it's also the scheming. When he was with the Giants, he had a shitty offensive scheme. Like it didn't fit him. It didn't fit the way the team was set up. It just was like, I'm glad this kid got another opportunity, because I listened to Giant fans trash this guy so bad. He's so terrible. No, he's not a terrible quarterback. In fact, he's a good NFL quarterback, and he's finally getting to show a little bit something. The reason I told him to stay away from this game is this: Denver did not look good. Bo Nix, I was a huge fan of. I still am a huge fan of, but they've got some issues with, I think they spread the playbook out a lot more this year. They just did not look like they were cohesive as an offensive unit at all. The Titans are not that good of a team. I mean, I like Cam. I think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. I think he's going to need some time, and I think the Titans have a lot of missing pieces. But Denver just did not look great to me. I rewatched that game again because I'm like, am I seeing what I'm seeing? I did like Denver. I didn't like when the line got up to 8.5. I thought it was too much. I squeezed it down and and end up getting there. Got lucky to get there though. But I think this is one of those games that could be a huge trap that everyone rides. That you got to remember who the Colts played last week. They played the Miami Dolphins, and the Miami Dolphins are like in turmoil. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
They look like
yeah. So anyway, I just think this is one of those, like, there's two trap games. I always look for those first because they always screw up all the parlays, right? My two trap games this week are the Ravens against Cleveland, and you saw that lines come down almost 2 points already, and Denver and the Colts, because I think Denver is a much better team than what we saw last week, and they could go in there and smack these guys around, get, that defensive rush could get in there and cause some problems. I don't think Danny Dimes is going to get to sit back in the pocket and just kind of like, oh, boom, 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 boom. I just don't see that happening again this week. So, could he? Yeah, I think he could. But anyway, I am staying away from this game, and I think it could cause some people problems.
All I got to say is that Bo Nix is going to have to play better if they're going to win this game. So, I mean, he threw the ball 40 times, man. 40 times. He only completed 25 of them. I mean,
and 2 picks.
What are we doing? I know. What are we doing? And a sack.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what we're doing. I mean, he had 18 yards on the ground on 8 carries too, man. So he wasn't really that useful on the ground. His scrambling ability is usually great, but he just didn't do much. I mean, are we not giving the Titans enough credit? I mean, I don't think we have enough time to get into the Titans on this side, but maybe next week we'll pick a Titans game or something, because I know we like the quarterback. I know we like the rookie. I know we think he's a rookie, but he only threw the ball 28 times. And that's probably why they were still in that
Bo
game,
Nix
right?
Bo Nix had 18. Yeah, Bo Nix had 18 yards, but he had one run that was like 11 or 12 of that 18. I mean, and 8 attempts. So he was scrambling around trying to run for his life, basically, and so I don't know, man. I just think Denver's a much better team than what we saw last week, and I'm not sure that the Colts beat anybody. They looked great, but, if you play a really crappy team, you can look really good. So anyway, this is one of the two trap games I told my guys to stay away from, or, don't go nuts.
So if the Dolphins are really that bad, how come they're favored this week?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I'm like, really? Is that a mistake? I mean, it's a little bit intriguing. I think let's see what's the line?
Bet the Pats. Bet the Pats. You know what's worse for the Dolphins? They get Buffalo next week.
Dolphins. No, the Dolphins are favored. The Dolphins are favored by 1.5, but 1.5.
Yeah, the Pats are getting that line's come down a little bit, but the Pats are getting money. I mean, they're getting points, and I don't know. Bet the Pats. This coach might not be there in week 6. He was kind of this analytical genius. And I just don't think he has the pieces. I don't think the players want to play for him. I don't think they respect him. And it's going to get worse. Buffalo next week. If they lose to the Pats this week and they get blown up by Buffalo next week, you might have a couple of coaches getting some phone calls.
Yeah, we might. Well, Brian, it's been another blast. I think we agree on a lot of stuff again today. I think we agree on the Cowboys. I think we agree on the Chargers. I think we agree on the Tampa Bay Bucks as a pretty good possibility to be an underdog this week and take it home. And then we disagree on a few things. So where did we disagree? We disagreed on the spread and whether the Jets were going to cover or not. I'm taking the Jets to cover, and you're taking the Jets not to cover against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So I think that about does it for our podcast this week. You can get these data-backed model-driven insights all season long if you sign up at propjuice.ai. You can participate in a free 7-day trial we got going on. Our sponsor's running a promotion right now. You get 10% off of your subscription if you put in Skybox10 at checkout. At the same time, we don't want you to forget to get that ticker for your man cave or your sports pub, rather. And I think last week I was even kind of saying you should try it out in your dorm room, right? So we got back to school college kids going back to school. I can't imagine if you rolled up in your dorm room with a ticker, right? I mean, all the boys from your dorm room all be all in that room all day long on Sunday, right? So spread the word, like the channel, come back next week from the cave. Man versus Machine pits expert capper Brian Reiner against Prop Juice AI back machine. Catch next week's episode on Thursday before kickoff to week 3's games. Can I just say, Brian, this has been, again, a super fun time, right?
Absolutely a good time. I'm going to actually, we did so well with our parlays last week. The Prop Juice posted parlays. I mean, when you post 4 parlays and 3 of them win, including a 10-teamer. Come on. But I'm actually going to post a parlay, a human parlay that I really, really like at 10.5 to 1. So sign up at Prop Juice and you'll get to go to our little parlay page there, and you're going to get to see the ones that the computer generates, as well as I'm going to post just a human one that I feel really, really good about this week.
Great, Brian. Well, again, everybody can catch Brian's parlay. Probably be up. Is it going to include a Thursday night team?
It does include a Thursday night game.
Okay, so we will get that up on the website probably first thing in the morning, if not later this evening, once he gives us the parlay. So again, to unlock your access to that parlay, you got to go over to propjuice.ai and sign up. But you can get 10% off that subscription today if you put Skybox10 in at checkout for your coupon code. With that, spread the word, like the channel, come back next week from the cave, man versus machine. We'll be back next week. Till then, thanks a lot.